So my name is Mauricio. I oversee the UCLA Study Abroad Office, the UCLA International Education Office, and today I'll be leading the Study Abroad for Life Sciences Majors workshop. So welcome. So who we are, we are known as the UCLA Study Abroad Office, but more formally, we are known as the UCLA International Education Office. We are the one-stop shop for study abroad undergraduate opportunities at UCLA. It's through our office that you can connect with study abroad advisors, study abroad coordinators, and through these two different roles, we can help you sort of talk about the logistics of study abroad, the types of academic opportunities that exist, how to navigate some of the course catalogs, do the pre-departure orientation when the time comes, and a lot of the details of the individual programs, of the individual like 200 plus programs that we offer. And one of the cool things that our office also offers that not everybody kind of takes advantage of is that we can put you in touch with study abroad returnees. These are students who have already studied abroad and who can sort of give you a first-hand experience of what some of the programs are going to be. Naturally, it is only about 3-5 advisors that we have at the office, and there's no way that we could have participated in every single one of these 200 programs. So we think that connecting with your peers is kind of one of the best ways to get in, to learn a little bit more about what that experience is going to be like for the program that you are seeking. One thing that actually I should have started off at the beginning as well is that if you have questions, I would say jot them down. You could drop them in the Q&A if you wish. I won't be monitoring that until the end. And it could be that your question might be answered as I go through the presentation. So my recommendation is just jot down your question, and then there'll be some time for Q&A later on. So this is our agenda, welcome, which we just kind of went over. We're going to do some study abroad 101 refreshers. I'll kind of explain sort of what that means shortly. We'll then focus on how to study abroad as an LS major, which is a very pan category, as you all know. We'll follow that with some sample programs that you might be interested in, and we'll close it up with the Q&A session. So study abroad refreshers, one of the things that we are trying to do, we're trying to break this up. I think today's session is going to be something like maybe 40 minutes, at least that's what I'm going to try to aim for. But to cover everything in full, this would probably be an hour-and-a-half session. So what we attempted to do is, those that RSVP'd, I sent you a link to check out our study abroad 101. It is about 40 minutes in itself, but it goes super into detail in terms of like the types of programs that exist, how credit transfer works, the cost and funding, what the application process looks like, and that timeline. And it goes into that in very, very detail. So that's what the 101 is. If you didn't get a chance to do it, you can still access that at our website, which is right here, ieo.ucla.edu/glow. And this session, and the way that it differentiates from the other one, is that here we'll focus a little bit more on how to study abroad in your specific major, how to go about petitioning coursework, which is one of the key elements of making that work for your major, and then highlighting programs with a focus or strong offerings in the life sciences. And again, as I shared earlier, the Q&A. So because I know not everybody had a chance to check out the 101, I am going to give you a crash course in some of the sort of top level topics that we covered there. First, I'll start off by saying that, when someone talks about study abroad, every single program is going to look a little bit different. There is no one way to study abroad. These three categories right here that you see are sort of, it covers, I would say, 90% of our programs. I'll start off by saying there's something called university immersion. Those immersion programs is what that traditional study abroad used to be. This is where you pretty much, you kind of become a exchange student at a local university. So you're taking classes with local students, with local professors. That can be in English, an English-speaking country, but it can also be in English in a non-English speaking country like Sweden or Denmark as an example, or even Japan. So that model still exists. You'll have some of your UC peers in those programs because they're going as part of the university program that we offer still. But again, it's the traditional immersion model. We also have something called UCLA faculty-led. Another term for that is UCLA travel study. These are short-term experiential courses that are on the go with UCLA professors. One of the examples that I like to give about this type of experience is, for example, we have a history in Paris program, which even as a life science major, you can study. for something like that if you just need units. That's a program where there is no classroom environment. Every single day is a walking tour of Paris. You're exploring every nook and cranny, and your lecture's sort of on the go. I think that's sort of emblematic of a lot of the faculty-led programs during the summer. Something else that we offer now is intern or research abroad. There are opportunities where you're not in a traditional classroom necessarily. You can do a program to intern for academic credit or conduct research for academic credit as well. Everything that the UCLA Study Abroad Office offers has an academic credit component. And there are dozens of other options. There are unique niche programs where you might be focusing on a language study. There's a volcanology program that we offer. Again, there's dozens and dozens of other types of programs. Kind of expanding more in terms of like there is no one way to study abroad. One of the things that you might have come across, it could be that you've talked to a friend or two and they've described as an example how they spent a whole semester studying abroad, living with the host family, taking classes with other UC students, and how everything was ridiculously cheap in the city of Berlin, right? So that might make you think that every study abroad program is going to look like that, and it is not. I can assure you there are 160 different variations of what a study abroad program can look like. And so I'll use these these pillars right here just to kind of showcase that. Living arrangements. There are some programs that have homestays, yes. Some programs that only have homestays, but there are programs where you get to choose between a homestay and a shared apartment with other UC peers. There are programs where you only live at the student residence at that local university. There's others where you set up your own apartment or your own living arrangement. And there's even options where you're pretty much in the jungle, exploring the jungles of Costa Rica, living in a tent for 2 weeks. And the rest of it might actually be at a homestay. So living arrangement really very varies from one program to another. Meals. I would say your average program is self-catered. So you're preparing your own meals, which is for some folks might be scary since it might be the first time that you're doing something like that. But there are some programs that offer some meal plans and things like that, but it's significantly less common outside of the United States for there to exist a meal plan. So most of them are going to be self-catered, but let's say a homestay option might have some meals included as part of that. Who you're studying with is also going to vary. Like I mentioned, there's the immersion models where your peers are the local students. But there are other programs where your peers are only UCLA students. There are other programs where your peers are only UC students, and others where your peers are a mix of international students from all over the world. Where your study will vary. Sometimes it's at a local university, but sometimes it's at a local UC study center, as an example. How long also depends. Students can still do a year-long program. It's becoming less and less rare. Students really love UCLA. They like to be here at UCLA, but it's definitely possible. So we have year-long programs, but now there's also semester-based programs, quarter-based programs, and summer programs. Summer programs can be as short as 3 weeks. Another refresher, how to choose a program. This is something really cool that we just put together about a year ago. And you can access this webpage at bit.ly/HTCHYP. And again, I'll try to share these slides out back to you probably tomorrow. And in the how to choose a program, we focus or we kind of reemphasize that there's no one way to pick a program. Often a student might come to us, perhaps even the way that you've come to this session. I'm a chemistry major. I'm a MCDB major. I'm a psychobio major. What is the program for me? And the reality is that that's not how it works, because even though you're those particular majors, there are dozens of programs that you can go on where you can still make progress towards your degree and not necessarily focusing on your major. So the reason why we put together this page is because it asks you, it's kind of a self-reflection tool where it asks you, like, what are your priorities? Is it going to Argentina or bust, no matter what? Or is it, I need to satisfy this very specific requirement, where can I do that? Or you want to work on your minor. Maybe if you have a French minor, you want to go to France. So there is no one way to pick a program, and this page kind of helps you sort of navigate some of that. Financial aid, we won't go into detail today, but the short answers are that yes, if you receive UCLA financial aid, you can carry that on a study abroad program. The aid might look a little bit different depending on the term and how long you go and how expensive it is, but the short answer is that yes, the financial aid office would put together a package for the budget of any UC study abroad program. And yes, there are scholarships available out there. If you go to our website, if you just Google IEO UCLA scholarships, that should be able, to take you where we can find scholarship opportunities. A lot of the scholarships out there are need-based, but there's actually a good chunk that are merit-based as well. We have sometimes scholarships for just going to the UK. We have scholarship funds for middle-income students. We have scholarships for first-generation college students. We have scholarships for students interested in going to Israel. There is a wide variety of types of scholarship funding that we have available. So yes, apply to scholarships. When to apply? I would say that you want to apply as early as 9 months before the start of the program that you're interested in. And the deadlines are going to vary from one program to another. Generally, our study abroad programs are not competitive. Most are first come, first serve, and most have enough spaces for accommodate any student that wants to. At the same time, there are programs that have limitations. Some programs with a UCLA professor might only have like 20 spots because the professor can only accommodate those. Sometimes with some of our UCEAP programs, UCLA might get 2 spots on a particular program. Sometimes we treat it first come, first serve. And in some rare occasions, we might require an essay or letter of recommendation. But those things are quite rare. I would say the average study abroad application would probably take you 20, 25 minutes to complete. It's rare actually that we lead a sort of a outreach workshop like this in the spring. It kind of throws, because the deadlines kind of don't align with something like this, but we wanted to again put together something to put study abroad on your radar. At the moment, the applications that are open are winter and spring 2023 programs. So that's winter quarter, spring quarter, and spring semester opportunities. It tends to be a little bit less popular with most UCLA students. The most popular terms tend to be summer and fall. That doesn't mean you can't do winter or spring. There are some complications that require a little bit more planning. But summer fall tends to be the most popular term, and the applications for summer and fall 2023 are going to open this coming fall. So getting to the point at hand, studying abroad at UCLA as a life sciences major. I will start by sharing the opposite of that right now. And I've kind of hinted at this already. So one of the things that we, again, try to drive is that, students are not obligated to study abroad in their major. You can pick a study abroad program, whether that's a summer or a term during in the fall, and you can work on your other degree requirements. You can work on GEs, on your minor, your foreign language, diversity requirement, units. You can just do it for personal professional development. Ideally, if it overlaps with some of your degree requirements, not just for personal or professional development, but you have that choice. And you're still making progress towards your degree. Most programs, as I shared, they're not designed around a major. So one of the challenges is that, again, we might have a neuroscience major that is exploring our opportunities and they're looking for the neuroscience program. And chances are you're not going to find that. You will find neuroscience coursework at a particular university, but the program is just going to be billed as like Lund University, Sweden. And it's not until you dig a little bit further that you start seeing neuroscience like coursework. So in short, expand your search beyond major programs. But if you really, really, really want to study abroad in your major, this is how you would go about doing that. When taking non-UCLA courses, so I'll talk about, we'll cover some sample programs that are UCLA programs, so it's UCLA courses, and that's not going to require any petitioning. But everything else will require some petitioning. The most popular program that would require this kind of petitioning is something called UCEAP, and I'll expand a little bit of what that is. So to go about this, you will petition with your major department. And the things that you want to ask them is what requirements are flexible to go to complete on a study abroad programs. Often the answer to that is going to be upper division electives. That's generally where your average major, whether it's a life science, physical science, humanities, engineering, social sciences, that's the area of a major that offers the most flexibility because, even here on campus, you're picking from a range of courses. And generally, you don't have to find an exact match. So, you don't, if your major says you can pick one out of these 20 courses to satisfy X requirement, you don't have to find a course abroad that matches one of those 20 options. It could be something completely unique that's not offered at UCLA, provided that it generally would fit that category. Again, I'll stick with neuroscience right now. If it's a neuroscience-like course, you could probably petition it for major elective credit. So once you talk to your department and ask sort of what kinds of things you can do abroad, then you would start exploring the options because now you have a framework of what to look for. As you explore programs, identify courses that align with the feedback that your department provided. Once you do that, you obtain the syllabi or course description from those program pages, you take it back to your department, and that's how you petition. And then you can assess whether a particular program is going to work out for you or the courses that are offered there can work out. Ideally, a student, and then after this, ideally, a student would apply to a program. I would say that it's rare that that ideal plays out. I often find that students end up applying to the program and then going through this whole process. You can do that. It's, if you go on a program for a whole year and you don't petition any of this stuff, I'm not, the study abroad office is not going to monitor that. We're not going to track that, but it'll be your responsibility to make sure that that aligns, right? So one of the really cool things is that we've started putting an initiative together to do that step one for you. So that asking what requirements are flexible or what kinds of things you can do that would count towards your major. We've already done that work for a few majors. We want to reach all the life science majors ultimately, but it's a work in progress. So if you are any of these majors, you can go to this bit.ly link, bit.ly/IEO maps. It's all at caps. You can also find that on our IEO website, and we've done that work for you. So a map is going to look something like this. So we have it for EDE and marine biology majors. And it's this section that tells you, we consulted with the department already and said, can you outline what are the things that students should look for and what they can need to count towards their major or not? And we put it here. If you have questions about any of the information in the maps, we're going to refer you back to the department because this is their policy. But we've tried our best to kind of simplify it, even though it's very wordy, very text heavy, to kind of help you sort of skip that first step already. But ultimately, again, it's always best to consult with your major advisor, even if you have this available to you. So some sample programs. Actually, before I get started, I'm going to take a quick peek here. Can you show the link on slide? Yes, I'm going to show the link on that previous slide again. So bit.ly/IEO maps, and it's all caps. Leave it there for about 10 seconds, maybe 3, 2, 1. All right, moving forward. So sample programs. I will start off with something called UCLA Travel Study. So these are 3 to 5 week summer-only programs with UCLA professors. We don't really have life science programs within travel study, but you'll see a kind of a mix of programs that might still work for you, even though you are a life science major. This is one of our popular programs across all majors. It's a program that goes to Copenhagen for 4 weeks. And the reason why it's popular is because you get to knock out your writing to requirement, literary and cultural analysis, and diversity for students who are in those schools with these 2 classes. So Scandinavian 50W, Introduction to Scandinavian Literature and Culture. And then there's also, which by the way, the first one, I think it covers things like The Little Mermaid and other Scandinavian literature. And the second one here, Scandinavian crime literature, an upper division elective that gives you upper division units. So through a combination of these courses, you can satisfy these 3 requirements. Again, not life science, but something that you can still do if you're interested in spending, 4 weeks in Copenhagen during the summer. Now, Spanish in the context of Spanish in the Mexican context. This is a program in Merida, Mexico, where you spend 4 weeks and you can complete your foreign language requirement. They offer Spanish 2 and Spanish 3A. That's the track that would satisfy your foreign language requirement. But if, for example, you're a Spanish major, a double major with Spanish or a minor, you can use some of the other tracks to make progress towards that major or minor requirement. Now, I'm being a little bit sneaky here. The reason why I'm showcasing this is, one, it does cover your foreign language requirement. But the reality is that its sister program is probably one of the most popular programs with life science majors. And its sister program is a similar track. They offer Spanish 2A and 3A, and it's in Spain. It's a program that goes to Granada, Madrid, and Barcelona, I believe. So it's a multi-city program, and it is the most popular program. That program fills up in like 5 minutes when registration opens. So I want to just give a shout out here to a little bit more of an off the beaten path that would give you the similar credit. But completing a Spanish language requirement is one of the most popular things to do on a summer travel study for life science majors. Something a little bit different, Global Health in Peru. Oh, sorry about that. I went a little too far ahead. Global Health in Peru. This is a program that is co-run by the Geffen School of Medicine and the UCLA International Institute. So this is a program that offers 2 global health courses that count towards a global health minor, if that applies to any of you. And it kind of takes you out into the field. It explores, global health in those particular areas in Lima and Iquitos, a more rural community of Peru. And it explores, the disparities in health that exist within the country and in those 2 areas. So again, this is a more experiential type of program where you're on the go, you're in the field, you're talking to people, you're listening to communities. So very, very different perspective. If you are interested, let's say, if you're considering pre-med, which many of you might be, or considering global health opportunities. Now, taking it back similar to the first program, this is another program where I describe as bang for your buck, because through these, let's say, 3 courses, you're satisfying your literary and cultural analysis or historical. You have to choose between it, I believe, diversity requirement, and with the elementary language course for Italian, you're making progress towards your foreign language requirement. So I kind of described it a little bit backwards here, but this is a program in Rome where you're spending 4 weeks and you're taking these 3 classes. So a little bit more course intensive, but still manageable. Yeah. So these are just, I think I gave you 3-4 examples of our summer travel study program. These are the programs with UCLA professors. You don't have to petition any of this stuff because they're UCLA classes. It's already coded in terms of what it satisfies. And the program pages tell you exactly what it satisfies. So that's one of the cool things. Again, no life science programs here, but still opportunities for you all. Another opportunity that we offer is the UCLA Global Internship Program. This program is designed around particular majors. And again, here, nothing within life science, but there is also a global health track here that we've seen some life science students enroll in. So they have the global health internships are available through their global affairs track. And the global affairs track is available in Colombia. There's 2 locations in Colombia, Argentina, South Africa, Vietnam, and the UK. This is pretty much a 10-week program, 10 weeks from beginning to end, but 8 weeks on site. You do get a placement for internship, and you only have to take 1 course. It's a pass, no pass course. I did not change the subject listing here. I think it reads Global Health 195, by the way. And you get academic credit. I believe you get about 9 units of academic credit for this. The challenge with something like this is that if it doesn't apply to your major, you might not be able to get major credit. So this might be more if you're interested in the professional development or the personal development, and or you're a global health minor. But here's some of the sample sort of global health internships that are available at these particular locations. This program is not my expertise. So if you did have questions, you could always email our main account, which I'll share at the end. And we can connect you with the associate director who does oversee the global internship programs, and they can sort of give you a little bit more information on the, global health internship opportunities that exist. And the last section here for programs is kind of one of the biggest and the bulkiest one. This is where there's like 160 programs, and these are the programs that are going to require the petition. These are the ones where they're probably going to be the most immersive because you're studying at local universities, but they also have ones where they're only there with UC students. And so this is the UCEAP. That whatever follows here will require some petitioning for GE, major, minor, credit, things like that. And students do it all the time, but it is an extra step. I'll start off with summer research in Glasgow. So this is a relatively new program, not at the University of Glasgow, but just as it relates to a University of California opportunity. You take one research course. It's 9 units, it's upper division, and you're pretty much conducting life science research at the University of Glasgow with local faculty. And then you get to explore Scotland on the weekends. It's during the week that you're conducting the research, doing lab work. And then again, your weekends are free to explore Glasgow, to explore Scotland, or explore other parts of Europe. The research projects, I believe, change from year after year, but this is kind of a sampling of some of the most recent research projects that have been available for students. I'm not going to try to pronounce some of these things because I will probably make a fool out of myself, but they have things like bio-nanosensing, genetic engineering, and a bunch of other different opportunities that you might find interesting to, again, spend one summer in Scotland. Now, this is one of the most popular options with life science students within the UCEAP portfolio. Historically, this program used to offer a physics curriculum that covered the entire physics series. The physics department has reassessed that credit, and so now the program has changed from its historical version. So moving forward, including this coming summer, this is a program where you can go, I missed it here. You can go to University College Dublin in Ireland, or you can go to the University of Glasgow in Scotland and complete your Physics 5A, 5B equivalents and 1 GE historical or social analysis. Now, this is one of the rare times where our office has pre-petitioned this coursework already with these respective units. So one of the rare times that we can actually tell you, we petitioned this and we can tell you it will count towards your Physics 5A and your Physics 5B and the GE for historical or social analysis if you're in the College of Letters and Science. So it's a little bit of balance, right? So you get to complete a physics requirement, and the local, the GE course, it's usually tied to the area. So it might be like a Scottish history course or an Irish literature course that you take while you're there. There are prerequisites for this, and those are essentially just the same math prerequisites that you would need for Physics 5A. We enforce those same prerequisites to participate on the summer physics program. For University of Sussex, this is a summer program about 8 weeks. It's kind of as long as our summer programs come. And this is a program where you can work on a combination of things, major, minor, GE, depending on your major, minor, whatever GEs you have. Essentially, you get to spend a summer in Brighton, southern part of England, about an hour away from London. Some folks consider it as the San Francisco of the United Kingdom. And here, there are about 30 different courses that students can choose from. Here, I've drawn the closest thing to life science that they offer from their current catalog. And I also plugged in some GE-like courses. So, they have a biodiversity course, cell course, health psychology, another psychology course, and a few GE-like courses. You would petition for credit for these, again, whether it's for major, minor, or the GE, but it's a pretty straightforward process. There was a question here in the chat. Actually, I should probably not pause and answer them. So, but I'll answer this one real quick. So it qualifies 3 requirements. If that was in the context of the summer physics program, yes, it would satisfy 3 requirements. If not, then we can come back to your question a little bit later. And so, tropical biology conservation. This has been a program that's been running for years. And historically, it has offered credit for students who are bio majors, EEB, conservation bio minors, And it could work for others. These are just the ones that we know that it's worked for in the past. You still have to petition to go through this process in case those departments' policies ever change. But this is a really awesome program. Essentially, you're conducting field work and research in the cloud forests, the oceans, and the mountains of Costa Rica. They take you everywhere. Part of the program is a homestay program. And again, this is the one that I referenced earlier, where you're spending 2 weeks camping in the jungles of the sort of wildlife of Costa Rica. This is a very structured program. So on this program, you take these exact courses. There's no like choosing what you want to do or anything like that. But so you take every single one of these courses. Apparently, there's an optional nature filmmaking course. This is relatively new. I'm not the advisor for Costa Rica, so I couldn't tell you exactly what that is. But there's some really cool stuff here if this is, if you're interested in biology and conservation. University College London, probably a 180 from that other program. This is where you're studying in the heart of England and in the heart of London with locals at a local university with local students. On a program like this is that university immersion model that I was describing earlier on. On a program like this, I'm listing some samples life science coursework here, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But this is the type of program where more or less the full catalog of the University of College London is accessible to you. There are some limitations, which is why I put this little asterisk here. But on a program like this, you get to pick from like 500 different courses. So this is the kind of program that gives you the most flexibility, I would say. On a program like this, for this specific program, students need to be accepted into a participating department. If you're a life science major, you would likely be accepted into the biology department there, which means you have to take 50% of your courses from their department. And everything that I pulled out here is within that biology department. There's dozens more courses. I just thought these sounded interesting enough and different enough from some of the other programs that exist. So this is just some sample coursework that you can do there. But on a program like this, you can take 2 courses in life science, biology, chemistry, things like that. And then you can take 2 GE-like courses. So you can take a history course, you can take a film class if that's what you want to do. You can mix and match pretty well on an immersion program like the University College London. Lund University, exact same structure as the one that I just covered. It's just in a different part of the world, and it's all in English. So a lot of the coursework at Lund University is offered in English. This is in the southern part of Sweden, about an hour train ride over the water from Copenhagen. So even though it's a little bit further up, some students think, oh, well, I'm in the northern part of Europe, I won't be able to get to travel as much. Not true. In fact, I feel like students at Lund University might have even more opportunities to travel because there's a local airport, again, an hour away at Copenhagen. So very, very accessible within Europe. What's awesome about Lund is that it is a really awesome college town that is welcoming of international exchange students. One of the things that our returnees usually rave about is that they have a program where you actually get to know the locals. You get to join something called Nations, which are student groups that pretty much the entire university is part of. That's where a lot of the socializing and getting to know the local students and your peers happens. Going out on a Friday, Saturday night, it usually happens within the Nations. So really, really welcoming college town environment. But by contrast, there's a lot of students that might be interested in London, but you might not get that, right? London is much more cosmopolitan, much more bigger metropolis. And people are kind of more or less do their own thing here, there. Here, again, college town, more focus, a lot more student-centered, I would say. And also here, you get to pick from like 500 different courses, and this is just a tip of the iceberg of the sample of life science coursework that you can do. There's pharmacology stuff, there's biological monitoring, evolution, genetics, neurobiology, chemistry coursework. And I highlighted this applied work here. I want to showcase this because this is something that you can enroll once you're there. And instead of taking a traditional coursework, you can do an internship in sort of biological labs there. A lot of students don't take advantage of this because I think once they show up, they're like, you know what, I would just rather kind of have more free time. And you're substituting one of your course. So it balances out. But so this is an opportunity where you can do biolab research at Lund University. The only trick about something like that is that you have to think about it as a bonus because you don't set it up until you don't finalize it until you're there. And so you don't know exactly what this applied work is going to look like. So I would just consider it as a bonus versus something that's like, I need to have that applied work opportunity. So, and again, that's optional. It's just, you get to pick from some of these courses among other life science coursework. This is the exact same program. I just wanted to showcase that they also have a unit at Lund University that is a series of courses that are designed for international students. And what's really great about that is that I have found that that department offers very GE-like coursework. So it's almost like the easiest thing to petition for GEs because they offer things like Swedish film, visual performing arts, history of Sweden, historical analysis, one language, one world, one language, philosophical and linguistic analysis. So you still have to petition this, but there are very GE-like courseworks within their SAS department, which offers courses for international students about Swedish and Scandinavian culture. National University of Singapore, everything that I presented so far has been very, very European centric. And a lot of the life science programs are in Europe. So I also want to give a shout out to other parts of the world. National University of Singapore, one of the top universities in the world for STEM. They have one of the top, I think the top bio program in Asia, studying at a multicultural island nation. This is just some of the sample coursework that you can take there. Again, among many, many other things. Gene coursework, molecular genetics, biodiversity, ecology, biological imaging. Have really, really, really cool stuff here. And by the way, this is also a program immersion, right? You can take much more than life science. I'll keep, I'm going to sound like a broken record now, but these are the ones where you can take like 500 plus courses to choose from. Same thing at the University of Sydney. You can take whatever is offered there, but this is just some of the really cool life science coursework that you have access to there. If you're interested in taking something like medical law, it might be Australian medical law. I don't know that it's global medical law, but really, really cool stuff that you may not necessarily have access to here at UCLA. University of Sussex. I talked about Sussex earlier as a summer program. On that summer program, I just realized I didn't necessarily clarify this, but on that summer program, you take 2 classes. You take one class the first 3 or 4 weeks, and then you take a second class the next 3 to 4 weeks. So you're only taking one class at a time. University of Sussex is also offered as an immersion program. So when you're studying during the academic year, and again, now full range of catalogs here. You can take history, biology, chemistry, engineering, philosophy, whatever you want. But this is just some of the sample coursework in the life sciences that, again, I thought would be interesting. This next one is the last sample program that I have for you for today. Actually, I lied. I think there's one more after this, but it takes a bit of a twist at the end. So there are programs that are subject specific, right? So there's something that you might come across that reads Psychology and Neuroscience at Maastricht University. So this is a program that focuses on psychology and neuroscience as a subject. It's not tied to UCLA psychology and UCLA's neuroscience programs, although historically those departments have been very flexible with credit on this program. These are just subjects. And so this program is narrow in scope and it's very structured. So you get to pick from only about 15 courses. And so it's a very structured program designed for international students studying in Maastricht. And here's just some of the sample stuff that you can do, including some GE-like coursework. So even though there's a very limited menu of courses, there is a variety that's not just psychology and neuroscience there. So while I covered a lot of programs, or at least I feel like I covered a lot of programs here, there are dozens more options for life science students. Again, there's like 160 options. There's probably like another dozen that can do life science for you, but this was just to give you a snapshot, kind of some of the low-hanging fruit that I drew from that I found life science coursework to showcase today. But if you want to go to Israel, you could probably do life science there. If you want to go to Argentina, sorry, probably not Argentina. If you want to go to Mexico and UNAM or Brazil, you could probably do life science there. You might need Spanish or Portuguese for some of those countries, but there are other places that you can still make this happen. The last program that I want to showcase, so everything that I showcased today for UCEAP was trying to give you a sense of where you can do life science coursework. But UCEAP also does other things, right? So this is a program that UCEAP offers where you can just completely forget about life science while you're there and focus on something completely different. So this is a very popular program for UCLA students, and it's offered in different versions. They have a summer, a fall, a winter, and a spring semester option, and those are the different sort of months that it runs. And on a program like this as a life science, you would probably be working on GE like courses for credit or minor if you have a non-science minor. And so these courses vary. So there's some that are offered only in summer, some that are only offered in winter, but this is kind of a summary of some of the stuff that you can do there. You can take a bread, wine, and olive oil course that is experiential. They probably take you out to those places to explore those things. Renaissance art, entrepreneurship, fashion media. There's some really, really cool stuff here. And each program structure is going to look different, right? So the summer program, you're going to take 2 courses. The fall program, you take 4 courses. And the winter quarter program, you take 3 courses. And so that pretty much wraps up my side of things. The last slide that I have here is sort of our contact information, but I'll kind of pause here and take the opportunity to take questions. And you can just drop them in the chat, the Q&A. I think the Q&A is the easiest thing for me, so there's one question here. Are there more research programs? Yes, there are other research programs. Off the top of my head, I think there's some in Singapore that exist. There's some in Tokyo. There's others in Japan. In Europe, honestly, there aren't as many summer research opportunities. And I know that the person who asked the question wasn't necessarily asking about summer, but in fact, that Glasgow program is something that's kind of quite rare. And which is why I wanted to showcase it today. You often don't find that lab research opportunities exist during a short-term summer program. So I wanted to showcase that. But there is a lot of stuff in Asia that you can conduct research. Let's see, I answered that. So another question here. Is it common that you can fulfill upper division requirements even with a petition? Is it common that you can fill upper division requirements even with a petition? So I'm going to say that fulfilling upper division requirements is a thing. It happens. It gets approved. But some departments might be more strict than others. So, for example, I've worked extensively with neuroscience and they partnered up with us. So I can tell you that neuroscience is super flexible. If you can petition the right things, they will make it happen for you. A lot of the biology majors, I'm going to say the traditional, the MCDB, MING, they're also flexible. I can't touch on every single one of them. But I will also say that I see some majors study abroad less than others. Biochemistry students, I don't see as many students study abroad in biochemistry. I don't know if it's in the context of being nervous about taking biochemistry courses outside of UCLA, or just wanting to do a summer program instead. So it's doable. It happens all the time. I can't speak for every single major exactly how that works out in terms of and exactly what you're trying to petition. But the best that I can say, it's a thing. It happens. It's not this impossible mountain as a whole. So are there programs in Spain that focus mostly on GE-like classes that LS students can take? Yes, there are. And again, one of the things that I kind of want to just clarify with that is no one's going to restrict you from signing up for those programs that offer GE-like courses because you're an LS student. There rarely, there might be a program like Sciences Po in Paris. It's a political science school. So they're going to require that you are an eligible major. But aside from a rare program like that, there's I think there's a program called like Contemporary Spain. I think it's offered as a summer and or fall program, or there might be Spanish in Spain. That's another program, I think. And that's where you'll find some of the GE-like coursework that you can take. Whether you're an LS student or a physical science student or history student, it kind of doesn't matter. We generally don't put restrictions on what major you are to sign up for these programs. There is something here in, I've answered that. any other questions? And again, you can drop them in the chat or in the Q&A, whatever works for you. All right, I'm gonna transition just to kind of wrap it up here with our contact information. If you still have questions, feel free to kind of jot them in. We still have a bit more time, I think. Yeah, actually, we right out in the hour. So again, my name is Mauricio. I'm representing the UCLA Study Abroad Office, more formally known as the IEO. We are in Murphy Hall 1332. We are this close to finally opening up our physical space once again to the public after a 2-year closure. We're hiring our front desk staff, so we're really, really excited. Hopefully by the end of spring quarter, we'll have that up and running again. Definitely for this coming fall, we'll be having our offices open again. But in the meantime, we do conduct virtual advising, and you can access that at ieo.ucla.edu/contact. We do Monday through Thursday. We do, I think, 11 to 1 o'clock and then 2 to 4 o'clock. We do 2 shifts, Monday through Thursday. And if you just have general questions, you can go in there and ask us anything. If you do have more specific questions that are tied to specific programs, still start off in drop-in advising. And then after that, if it necessitates a one-on-one meeting, we can schedule those with our study abroad advisors. We encourage you to follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can just look up UCLA IEO for those respective platforms, and you can see application deadlines, scholarship deadlines, events, workshops, other workshops that we might host. You'll find those there. Our main contact information is info@ieo.ucla.edu. I should probably remove our phone right now because we're not 100% in the office right now, so that might not be quite successful. So info or the drop-in advising is the best way to get a hold of us right now. And so there's one more question, but just wanted to add our little kind of thank you for joining us tonight. And thank you again for the folks at the UCLA Life Sciences Student Association for kind of nudging us and making this happen for you all. So there's one last question here. If we wanted to fulfill a language minor, would we have to take the intro language here and the more advanced ones there? Generally speaking, so I cannot speak for every single minor, but I would say generally speaking, there's no requirement that you have to start it at UCLA. And I can say that because, for example, there are students that come in with an AP score of Spanish, a score of 5 on their AP Spanish. And so they skip a lot of the introductory Spanish courses and then jump into upper division or some of the more advanced sort of intermediate levels. So that just makes me believe that, you can, take the equivalent of Spanish 1 through 3 on a study abroad program and then continue 4, 5, 6, or whatever respective levels, and then the upper division here. Or you can start it here at UCLA and do some of the upper division abroad. So there's no restriction, generally speaking, on where you need to start it or end it. And all right, that covers it. If there's no other questions, we'll wrap it up. I'll stop the recording right now. And thank you so much for all joining us this evening. Have a good day. Take care.